Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas for the third show today. This show is with Vem Miller, and one of my favorite topics until they start changing laws and judges start changing behavior is Vem Miller is a documentary filmmaker, and he's done several episodes on Family Court. And he's doing one right now. It's called Family Court is a Genocide Machine, believe it or not. Jim, you got anything?
Actually, not really, other than I really do honestly want to get into Family Court because the other day I was at an event and one of the judges, it was a district court judge, said, yeah, Family Court is brutal. I'm glad I don't have to be in Family Court. And I started asking this judge if you actually have constitutional rights in Family Court. And her response was, you're supposed to, but, and then she kind of like backpedaled a little bit because, you know, obviously, yeah, right, yeah. So I
bought me a cookie dish last week.
I found it pretty interesting that this district court judge pretty much just said, well, yeah, they're supposed to, but that's a really tough courtroom to be in. So
without any laws, of course, we're going to be tough.
Yeah. Right.
Throw the Constitution out. Yeah, that's a tough room.
So yeah, it was an interesting conversation. It didn't last very long. They made sure they cut me off pretty quick on that one.
So we got Vem Miller here, and documentary filmmaker. And Vem, could you give us a bio about yourself?
So I started in television first I started in music videos in 2000. I did a whole bunch of music videos as a director. Actually directed like the DMX Wear the Hood At video, did some videos. DMX. Yeah. He was an interesting guy. Yeah. And
God rest in peace, DMX.
Yeah, rest in peace. So I did a bunch of videos, Master P, about 100 videos over the course of 8 years. He's an interesting guy. They're all interesting guys, you know. I mean, nice.
Some of his lyrics? You got
what was that? Bout it. I don't know off the top of my head. I kind of forgot, but he was fun to work with, and so until about 2008, I did videos, and then I started doing television shows. I actually started creating and selling television shows for like networks like A&E, Netflix, History Channel, Discovery. And then around 2017, I left that business to start learning law just because I wanted to get into documentary filmmaking. And now I am producing a series called America Happens, a multi-part series. Every once in a while, we release new episodes on topics that the mainstream media won't talk about. That's one of the reasons I actually departed from that business, is because there's a lot more freedom you get from...
So a lot of independent filmmakers are just saying, you know what, if the mainstream won't talk about it, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, there's so much news that doesn't get told. That's the issue. And there's really important topics suppressed, and they don't want to talk about it. There's too much politics involved. And so that's what we do. We attack those topics.
Or it's money.
Money, exactly. Like, you can't say anything bad about pharmaceuticals, even though there's a lot of bad things to say about pharmaceuticals.
And I know you guys know the cure for cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's really about trying to be more free and talk about the things that are important, really, because, you know, the country needs this.
Right.
We can't go with this illusion that everything's okay while, you know, we the people are suffering. You know, it's very important to talk about those topics because it's just, otherwise it's like the whole country's going to fall apart. Like we need to fix a lot of things in this country.
Well, why family law? I mean, there's like a whole bunch of different laws. Well, why did you want to talk about that particular one?
Well, with America Happens, we generally talk about the things the mainstream media won't talk about. So that's one of the criteria. The last episode we actually did was about COVID-19 and the hidden agenda and who's benefiting, who's losing. You know, China's benefiting, we're losing. So, you know, essentially we talk about those kind of topics. With family law, I was unfortunately thrust into that world myself personally. I'm not allowed to talk about it, so I won't, because there's gag orders and that sort of thing. Because they look for a reason to arrest you.
They do that. Isn't that a constitutional violation to put a gag order on somebody?
It's a violation on many levels, you know? And so the reason why other than personally going through it myself, the reason why it was very important to me is because what they're doing within family law is so heinous. Like, it's so disgusting. You know, like very recently, my buddy Cash Jackson got arrested, right? And the reason he got arrested was for some trumped up charge. I think he might have recorded a court hearing, which should be legal.
Get the videos for that.
Yeah.
Supreme Court came down with a ruling after a case that I appealed up to them and said that the courtroom is of public concern.
Yeah. So, but
tax dollars go in that courtroom. Tax dollars pay for the judge, bailiff, the JA, all their staff, all their janitorial, every piece of material and all their supplies, the utilities. Those are all tax dollars.
Exactly. And, you walk into a McDonald's, all the security guards got cameras. Everywhere you go, you got cameras. But for some reason, family courts, you can't have a jury and you can't have cameras. And they always fall on the same thing. It's for
a constitutional violation.
Constitutional violation. They say, it's because we want to protect the children involved, which
they're trying to hide their bad behavior.
They're trying to hide, I would say, not even bad behavior. They're trying to hide grossly criminal behavior.
Yes.
Where really children are being bought and sold, more or less. It's a big trafficking operation. It's not just judges involved. It's also social workers, lawyers from the other side, caseworkers. They're all splitting the pie.
And I was watching your show last night, the episode 7, and their incentives for caseworkers to take children away from parents?
Yeah. So
the bullshit? That means they're going to lie, steal, whatever, if they want to get their bonus. That's craziness.
Yeah. So this episode we did in the UK, and each child that's stolen is worth 32,000 to 45,000 pounds, which is 45,000 pounds would be equivalent of like $70,000, give or take.
The euro is more than.
Pound is more.
The pound is more than the American
it's about like $1.25 or something, So they have that financial incentive. Then there's a lot of other incentives that are really concealed very well, which has to do with insurance and bonds. But we didn't dive into that too much. And essentially, imagine if each kid is worth, equivalent of $45,000 to $75,000. That is a pie that's being split amongst the social workers, lawyers, and I do think judges.
Billions, did you say it was?
$60 billion industry
a year.
And it's a very small group of people that are making the $60 billion, but they are destroying the fabric of what our culture is. They are destroying the future. These, kids are traumatized. A lot of them die because they commit suicide.
Parents commit suicide, not having their kid in. Because that's a civil death. It's a civil death. Not seeing your kid is a civil, or not seeing your parent. It's a civil death.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. They're out there, but you can't see them because this paper and this judge made this rule. And the judge probably doesn't even have a family of their own.
Exactly.
Probably don't have no kids, never been married, probably never even practiced family law a day, but became a family judge.
Yeah. I mean, some of the, I guess, more clever legislation that's being written is that a judge should have children of their own, or they should not be a family judge. That's one of the things I think that might be helpful. Second thing is they need juries. There's no reason to have secret courts.
Especially for relocation of children. And because you could take a kid out of the country, relocation of children, and they should start off with relocation of children or termination of parental rights. One person should not make that decision. It should be like a tribunal, which got 3 judges on the panel, or a jury trial, which our 14th Amendment said that we entitled to a jury trial.
Yeah, this stuff's definitely very unconstitutional. It's sad that it's gone on for so long. Another thing that they've done is that, kidnapping is kidnapping, right? But when a parent does kidnapping, all of a sudden it goes to the family law courts. But what really should happen is that it goes into criminal courts. Now, if you kidnap your child because your husband's a maniac or your wife's a maniac and the child's life is in danger, again, that still doesn't make too much sense because that's where you go to the police. But let's say you had to skip the state or the country. That's understandable as long as there's due process. But there is no due process in family courts. Literally what the judge's opinion, thoughts, or whatever he feels like, whatever discretion. So let's say you get accused of, hey, Steve, somebody, whatever, somebody accused you of abuse, like your ex, whatever, you know? It's not like they're like, present me evidence and let me see something. A recording, especially nowadays where everybody's got an iPhone, it's so easy to record something. And we've seen a lot of those kind of recordings by, you know, people that are getting sexually harassed and that sort of thing. 'Cause it's very easy to press record, you know? But there is none of that. So it's like if the judge feels like, hey, I don't like this person, it's all of a sudden you have this
bias.
And I think it's the lowest evidentiary standard in family law. And it's unfortunate because they're really destroying the fabric of what our society is.
Well, I think discretion replaces law. I mean, if you're a judge and you're gonna rule on a case based on your discretion and not by law, then anybody should be able to be a judge.
Basically,
Anybody should. The way the law is written here in the state of Nevada, if the population is less than 100,000 people within that jurisdiction, that city, like Moab or Searchlight or any one of those places, then anybody could run for judge. You don't have to have a law license to become a judge in those less populated municipalities. In the same case with family court, since family court is operating off of discretion, that means if you have some good common sense, you should be able to run for judge in family court, because basically that's what it is. Because they're saying, oh, that's the judge's discretion. So what happened to the law? What happened to all these lawmakers, these legislators we elect and we put on the ballot and we pay and we send to Carson City to adapt laws and amend laws and make laws, and it goes through the assembly and the state senate and they approve it, and then it goes on the governor's desk to sign to become a law? What happened to all of that? If we're going through all that process and procedures to make laws for our state, why are judges in family court operating off of discretion?
Because really what happened is $60 billion happened. That's what happened.
That's what doesn't make good sense to me.
Yeah, no, they make $60 billion, and a lot of these politicians know what's going on. We all know people that have been alienated from their children. But it's $60 billion, and they look at that and they think things are going to collapse if you remove that.
But they adopt all these. I mean, I've heard judges many times from litigants tell me that judges say the Constitution, we don't practice the Constitution in this courtroom, or the Constitution doesn't apply in this courtroom, like it's their courtroom. No, they're just servants occupying the seat until the next election. Yeah. The Constitution should apply in the family courtroom regardless. I mean, they take litigants and they make them vexatious. And then they tie their hands and they put a muzzle on their mouth. That way, if you become a vexatious litigant, you can't defend yourself verbally. You can't file any documents. And my question is, if they're making litigants who's fighting for their children because of the love of their child, why doesn't attorneys have the same thing? Why doesn't an attorney become vexatious? Because there's a lot of attorneys throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. They're not up and up either, and they file tons of crap, and they'll go in family court and they'll lie and they'll perjure themselves, but nothing ever happens to them. It has to work both ways.
I honestly think, I haven't gotten into it too in depthly to figure out how to do it. But I honestly think family court should, instead of being considered a civil court, I think it should be considered a criminal court. And then that way, that forces their hand, because then they have no choice but to offer a jury trial. Like if you want
defenders, when you have a contempt charge.
If you want a plea bargain in a criminal court, you can do that through the advice of your attorney, but the judge specifically will tell you, like, by entering into this plea, you do understand that you are passing up on a lot of your constitutional rights. So you're not taking it to a jury trial, because in a civil court case, the preponderance of evidence is just 50%. So it's like 50.1%, right? In criminal court, it has to be overwhelming. Like it has to be 2/3.
Now there's a second level of civil there. So there's civil family, there's civil, regular civil. Now regular civil usually have a jury, and the I guess, standard for evidence in family law is like 0. It's not even 51%. Even if family law became regular civil court with a jury, with that 51% evidentiary standard, it's still a huge leap forward than what it is right now.
What about if you removed, even though I'm a big proponent of specialty courts, but what about if you took family court out of being a specialty court?
That's what I think that's the first step. I think just making it proper civil court. In fact, I think we'd lose nothing if family courts just became civil courts with a jury.
I'm just throwing out ideas. Like, I don't know what the impact of that would be. I mean, I'm obviously a huge proponent of veterans court because there's unique circumstances involved in like understanding PTSD and TBI and things of that nature. So it becomes more of a treatment court. But I think now where we're getting to with family court is it's given too much leeway to judges, and they're using the best interest of the child to too much discretion.
Every idea you just said is much better than what's currently happening right now, because it is actually gutter level horrible that anything we do is better than the current state.
Yeah, and one thing I don't understand is that family court is a civil court. If they're a civil court, why are they having contempt procedures in that court? In a regular courtroom, in a criminal courtroom, if you cannot afford an attorney and the prosecution has jail on the table, you get yourself a public defender, right? But in family court, even with a contempt charge, but in family court, the same charge. If you can't afford an attorney, you're still on your own, and they're going to lock you up if the judge feels that you're in contempt, and if the judge feels that the sentencing is jail, they're going to lock you up. And many times I've seen people in handcuffs, come out of family court, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not a criminal court. It's not a criminal court. Those judges don't have a right to lock you up because it's not a criminal court. This is a civil court, and in a civil court, you don't. There is no jail on the table, But they do that in family court, and then they said it's contempt charge. You're going to go to jail, but wait a minute, you're not a criminal judge. It's just like a criminal judge is the only judge that has jurisdiction that could order a litigant to take a drug test. But yet family court judges do it day in, day out. But the only alternative is to appeal. And then when you appeal, the Supreme Court appellate court will reverse it. But a lot of litigants don't know about how to appeal, what to appeal, if they should appeal, what's in appeal. And a lot of litigants don't have the money or resources to go out and hire an attorney.
Yeah. Think about like the facts that you just said, how preposterous all like those series of facts are in terms of the reality of this, right? So you could go to jail even though there's really no standard of evidence. There's no standard of evidence. And a judge, based upon their discretion, could say, just like Cash Jackson right now. In fact, just like his attorney, Ted Bush. I'll give you an example of how corrupt this world is, okay? So Cash Jackson was jailed because of, he was put in jail because he recorded something. And really what it is that he's been very vocal. He gets on Facebook, he talks about this stuff. And the judges, the lawyers, and the social workers hate this. They don't like their dirty laundry and their crimes being revealed because it's a litany of crimes. I mean, a lot of these people should be in jail and not, determining the future of children. So he gets thrown in jail, and Ted Bush, who was his attorney at the time, is on his way to court yesterday to basically present evidence as to why Cash shouldn't be in jail. And one of the pieces of evidence that exists is that essentially a judge in Illinois colluded in order to throw Cash in jail because he was upset that Cash ran against his brother as a libertarian candidate. So Ted Bush is on his way to court.
He should be recused.
He should, he a lot more than recused if we're following the Constitution and the law. But yeah, I mean, it's, so anyway, Ted Bush is an attorney now, is on his way to court to present evidence as he's about to enter the elevator. And by the way, this guy has stage 4 terminal pancreatic cancer. Stage 4 terminal pancreatic cancer. Cops greet him at the elevator. They say, "We got a warrant out for your arrest." The reason they have a warrant out for his arrest is because he sent an email to his ex-wife, served his ex-wife, which was the judge's order from a previous court. That judge had already talked about the fact that Ted had to send this email, gave him the right to send this email. So it was per a court order. The man's following the law. But these family court judges say, you got in touch with your ex-wife. That's harassment. They throw him in jail, really, so he doesn't testify.
Contradicting orders. Same thing happened to Michael McDonald, too.
Yeah. He's in jail. Just so they won't, it was really to prevent Ted from testifying, because he's a credible witness, he's an attorney. He's a well-respected attorney who's dying of cancer, unfortunately. And this would make him look bad, because at this point, this was in civil court and not a family court that they control.
They isolate and discredit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their MO. Isolation and discredit you.
Yeah. Which honestly, I think we're at a point, and I'm going to throw an idea out here, because it's this world's not going to change unless we make a big move, And I look at what the truckers are doing within Canada.
Let me stop you right there.
Sure. Good.
You said this world's not going to change unless there's a big what?
Move. We got
move.
A big something big's got to happen.
Global epidemic, coronavirus.
Yeah.
They preach, wash your hands, especially after you use the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
My God, I still see people coming out of the crapper, walk right past the sink, out the exit.
Yeah. Not
washing their damn hands. So I don't know what it takes to get people to start thinking about, stuff like that. Because it takes a big move to do anything around here. You have a global epidemic that's killing people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The coronavirus.
Yeah.
And people are still not doing proper hygiene.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and I'm sure
proper hygiene.
I'm sure they're wearing their masks though, right?
It's funny, because I was going to say that too. It's like, and not near at the level that Steve gets, but I've been getting so many text messages lately from different friends and stuff. And like, well, I don't understand why this is going on. I don't understand why that's going on. Like, all these people, they're complaining about this person. It's not even just family court. It's like, I don't agree with certain things that people are saying. So I finally just started responding back to all of them going, I'm not your messenger.
Yeah.
Like, masses,
like for Superman to I'm
like, masses speak volumes. Like, get out and start getting involved in this stuff. Now, if you want to go to an event or you're going to talk to somebody and you may think you need advice, like if I don't have it, like I can give you contacts and you can talk to them about it. But for whatever reason, like people just, I don't know, Steve deals with it on a much higher level than me. We get contacted all the time and they're like, hey, what can we do about this? What can we do about that? And I'm like, just do something.
Yeah.
Like,
Apathy is a big problem, because I think when it doesn't affect you, people don't. Most people, if it doesn't affect themselves, people don't do anything about it now. The Canadian truckers, they were all told they got to get vaccinated. They don't want to get vaccinated because there's a lot of data out there that shows that you are taking a risk by, with this experimental vaccine. So they stopped Canada. They literally stopped Canada, and this is the kind of thing that has to happen. I think enough parents or within 1 degree of separation, people know somebody whose life has been destroyed because of these criminal family law courts. I won't even call them courts, because these are this is a criminal enterprise. And just like they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely. When you give a judge that absolute power, I don't care who that judge is, somebody comes in with $100,000 in a bank account that they're never going to get caught, to throw this dad under the bus or to throw this mom under the bus. It's just, you cannot give people absolute power. This is the reason why we have juries. This is why that 12 individuals that are our peers is the best system in any court. And I think that's what we need in family law.
So when is your next film coming out?
I'm trying to make these as fast as possible. The goal was to do one every couple of weeks, and it just always takes longer because of just real life. And I'm doing this pretty much on my own time and dime. I have another 10 episodes planned. So hopefully within the next month, we'll have another one come out, a different topic, but I'm also continuing to cut together a lot of interviews and footage I've shot. We just launched our podcast called Blood Money, which goes with America Happens. It's a companion piece. And so, we're going to just keep releasing content on our Rumble channel, which you guys could find through, just go on Rumble.
Now, Rumble doesn't censor.
YouTube.
We were just talking
not like
about,
YouTube.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that before the show started.
They're so awful. They totally destroyed our channel. We got those 3 strikes because we did an election fraud video where we actually looked at voter rolls and saw literally ballots being delivered to like the garbage can or a bush, and not 80,000 of them like this. And I don't think they like that too much. We did another piece called We the People versus CNN because of all the divisive nonsense that CNN was doing to tear up the country. So that got us kicked off of YouTube. But we're on Rumble now, and you could find our channel by searching for America Happens.
So do you have anything else you wanted to bring up, highlight?
Honestly, the only thing I would say is this topic of apathy. I think people got to start, just because the problem does not affect you, the fact that it's a violation of our rights, it's going to come to your doorstep eventually. Like stuff that was happening 25 years ago that we were all, it's happening over there, it doesn't concern us. Today, it's affecting us. Today, the totalitarians have used that apathy to come after all of us. And I think what's happening with coronavirus is a great example of that. I just think we got to look at your neighbor and really just, think that the minute you're an individual that his rights or her rights are being violated, you need to get off the couch.
Well, America's philosophy is to go to another country and fight them on their territory instead of them coming over here on our country and fight us on our land. So that should be the philosophy for everything, Take care of it when it's somebody else's problem. Once it's your problem, then there's a different story. Because a lot of people say to me, Steve, why are you so wrapped up in this family court thing? You have no family court issues that you could take. Why are you taking this so personally? I said, I take it personally because I don't want to come knocking on my door. Because if it's knocking on somebody else's door, I could be a lot more diplomatic and sensitive and intellectual about it. If it comes knocking on my door, I'm going to be emotional. I don't want to kill me somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody going to get hurt. You take my kid, somebody's definitely going to get, I don't care who you are. Judge, attorney, I don't give a crap who you are. You touch my kid, that's death.
Yeah.
That's from me. Yeah. So I rather it happen to somebody else and I'm like a mediator and trying to fix it. Say, okay, you need a guide. You need to use this law. You need to use that law. Since the system is working against you, find a way to use the system to work for you, right? Yeah. Because I'm not emotional about it. So, I have litigants that are extremely emotional. And there are many times I had to talk them out of doing some craziness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've had to do that
and
too,
people say, well, Samson, you're going after these judges. No, judges. I have saved so many of you from bad litigants. It is insane. I have talked out so many people from not hurting you guys. It's crazy. So you really should thank me for being involved in the family court business and change the way you rule. But
Yeah, and you served. You served, and what's holy to us is our Constitution.
Exactly.
And I get why this is important to you because when the Constitution is being raped, we're all in the line of fire. Whether it's today, tomorrow, or the day after.
And that's what separates us from other countries.
Exactly.
Is that Constitution that and every other country wants to have it. And here we are with the Constitution, and we're shitting on it.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah. Time for change, for sure.
So.
Yep.
Well, Vem Miller, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
If you could, Jim, you have anything else for Vem?
No, other than, I don't know what kind of coffee you drank this morning, but...
Vodka!
Yeah, no, all kidding aside though. Now, Steve always gets like this. It's campaign season, Steve, so...
Oh, it's not family court season?
We always get fired out. Yeah, unfortunately, family court is year round. I wish it wasn't, but it is. But no, I just want to thank you very much for coming on.
Having me.
And thank you for like exposing the truth.
Yeah.
Like and you sacrifice a lot of your own personal wealth in order to bring these things to light. It would be easy to sell out to. I don't call it the mainstream media. I call it more the corporate media.
I was there. That's what I did for almost 20 years.
It's easy to do that, but then you get censored too much. So.
Yeah, and it just sucks doing something where your heart's not into it, and I mean, it's important to protect what we have here.
Absolutely. Vem, Mark is gonna zoom in on you. Mm-hmm. Final words, whatever you want to say, direct people to your show and your point of contact or anything you want to say.
Yeah, so check us out on the Rumble channel. You just got to search for the channel America Happens. Make sure you click on channel, not episodes. And we have about 7 episodes on there. Please check it out, subscribe, and we love to have your support.
Thank you so much, Vem. Thank you. Folks, that's Vem Miller. He's a documentary film producer, and he's working on the Genocide Machine.
Family law is a genocide machine.
Family law is a genocide machine. And we want everybody to go and educate yourself on this family court business, because if you're planning to have kids, you probably want to take a look at this. If you're planning to get married, you probably want to take a look at this. If you're already married and already have kids, you definitely want to take a look at this. If your marriage is a little rocky and stuff is not going right, you probably want to take a look at this. And I employ everybody not to go to family court. Get a mediator, work out your differences, get it down on paper, and have a paralegal write it up and submit it to the courts for signature. Do not go into family court as a disgruntled litigant, because you're going to get screwed. And if you think you have a winning case, I have all this evidence, it doesn't mean crap in family court. Just to let you know. This is Steve Sanderson, Jim Jones of Veterans in Politics. Until next time.